Hey everybody, Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy. I'm back with another fun-filled video for you today. And today we're going to discuss a custom topic known as one-offs or one-of-a-kinds. What are they about? What's so special about them? Why do they even exist at all? What is the point of one-of-a-kind knives? And do they cost more than regular customs? Those are all questions I'm about to try and answer for you. So the first question, are one-offs more expensive than, say, a custom knife that's also a custom, like this beautiful Trevor Burger Dakar Flipper, which is not a one-off? Okay. One-offs are basically one-of-a-kind handmade knives. Knives that you supposedly will never see again. There's only one of those in the entire world, and technically you've got it. With this Dakar Flipper, this is not a one-of-a-kind knife. Now, this knife is still handmade. Don't get me wrong. The knife is still handmade, but it is not a one-of-a-kind. This is number 16. So to answer the question, are one-of-a-kinds or one-offs more than, let's say, I don't want to call them production model, but a knife, a custom knife that a custom knife maker may produce again? For example, this Dakar Flipper that I have, this is, a rare knife, but this is number 16. Out of I don't know how many, but it is definitely not a one-of-a-kind piece. It's still handmade like the other knives you see here on this presentation, but this is not a one-off. So that's the difference. Now the answer to the question is, are they more? Did the one-offs cost more than, say, a custom knife that would still be handmade but may come maybe numbered? Maybe there's like 16 of them, 17, maybe even 100 of those in different variations, or not even in different variations, the same variation, and then they stop in that color, in that size. So for example, the compact L51 flipper put out by Andre Thorburn. It's a very popular model knife. I don't know how many of these he made, but this is definitely not a one-of-a-kind knife. Again, this knife is still handmade. It's just not one-of-a-kind. In most cases, the one-offs don't cost more than, say, something like this, which is not a production model, but a model that he's done multiple times. I think that's the way I should say. He's done the same exact knife multiple times. How many times he's done this knife multiple times, we don't know. However, we do know that this knife is not done by machine. It was done by hand. So keep that in mind. When you see customs, you asking whether it's a one-of-a-kind knife, that just adds to the experience of owning a custom knife. In fact, this knife actually costs more than my Willem Steenkamp here, which is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. The difference between this knife and this knife is the cost of the materials on the knife, okay? The time that it took for the knife maker to make the knife. That would also add more price to the knife itself. Also, what kind of steel is on it, that kind of thing. Those will raise or lower the price of any custom knife. The fact that it's one of a kind, I wouldn't say that's definitely a free feature or anything, but that just makes the experience of owning a custom knife all the more special. So in most cases, one-of-a-kind handmade knives do not cost any more than, say, a handmade knife or a half handmade knife, half CNC machine knife that was done multiple multiple times. Just adds more to the knife. Plus, there's also other things that come with one-of-a-kind handmade knives. Like, for example, this piece here is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece by Andre Thorburn. Now, this knife is extra special because I actually had Andre Thorburn make this knife specifically for me. The fact that you will never see this knife ever again in this variation just makes it a much more fun experience in owning custom knives. Now, you could go that way if you wanted to collect that way. Just collect nothing but a bunch of one-off or one-of-a-kind handmade pieces. That would, that would be a very, very special collection and a very personal collection to you. You may not even want to consider even selling any of those one-of-a-kinds. I mean, I'm definitely not going to sell any of mine. But, I mean, the experience of that, of actually owning a one-of-a-kind is nice. And it's even better when you order the knife from the knife maker himself. That really makes it a much more special experience because you're actually working with the knife maker himself, giving him ideas, inputting ideas into your knife, asking him what kind of materials you want on it, how you want the knife to be fashioned, made, so on and so forth. Now, there is a downside to working with a custom knife maker. Keep in mind, the more questions you ask from the ground up on getting your knife made, the longer it's going to take for you to get it, because a knife maker like Andre Thorburn or say J.D. Van de Winter, they're going to have to figure out a way to get that to work the way you want it to. Hence, more than likely, making your knife more expensive. Because think about this. If you're asking for something specific to be put on a custom piece, and you want it to be a one-of-a-kind handmade, I'm laughing because chances are the knife maker has probably never done that before. He's probably got an idea of how to do it, right? But he's probably never done it before. Hence would be the reason for getting just a good old-fashioned custom knife that the custom knife maker knows how to make, and he doesn't have to, maybe wriggle around and try and figure out if some things can be done or some things can't be done. I'll give you an example. I'm currently getting a knife made right now by Andre Thorburn again, one to match this eagle piece that you see in front of you. The one that I'm getting made I don't know what kind of materials are going to be on it. All I know at this point is that it's going to be a smaller knife than this, probably the same size as the compact flipper. And it's going to have a fish on it, because the way I look at it, eagles eat fish, they dive in, you know what I mean? It'll be kind of like a matching, go-together pair of knives. Anyway, to get on my story, I asked Andre what other model flipper he could make other than the L compact flipper, or other than the 48 front flipper that I've already got. I wanted a different model in that knife. I didn't want any of the models to repeat. So I asked him, I looked on his website, and I told him, well, the 42 looks like a really perfect size. Can you make that into a front flipper? Then he said to me, I'll get back to you in a couple of months. I almost had a heart attack. I'll get back to you in a couple of months, and I'll let you know if it can be done. I was like, okay, well, how about one of the other? Is there another knife? So I went into a different direction. I actually asked him, is there like another knife that's the same size as this 48 here that can be made into a front flipper? Because like I said, I don't want any of my models to repeat. And then he showed me a front flipper that is brand new. It's called a 54, and we've decided on that. I was like, oh, thank God. I don't want it to take any longer than it has to. But in some cases, having your knife delayed could be a good thing, especially if you're a knife collector like me who loves to collect constantly. I mean, have the credit card bills run up there, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm in a deal with Andre Thorburn. What do I do? So basically, you ask them another question that will delay the time, and then your knife would take a little bit longer. That way you could save the money or pay down your credit card and then slow down with the questions when you get there, and so on and so forth. So one-offs are there's a lot of positives and negatives to one-offs. One of the positives is you're either going to be the only one in the world to own the knife. No one else will have it in this variation. There may be other models of the knife, but the way that the materials are put together on the knife, they will never see, or you would never see that variation put together quite that way ever again. And it's kind of nice when you're in workings with the knife maker to have that done, provided that you know enough about what materials could be used on the knife, which I have to admit, I don't know that much about the materials that are made on the knife. I'm still in that stage where I like the knife and I just want it. I'm still there, but I'm still learning at the same time. With each knife that I buy, my education goes up. My passion for the hobby goes up, and it just keeps going and going until eventually I become a well-educated poor guy. So one-offs are a world that maybe you may or may not want to visit, but I guess the point of this whole video is to get a good quality tool and work of art it doesn't have to be a one-of-a-kind all the time. It's a wonderful experience to have that, and it would be great to have a bunch of just one-offs in your collection. But, if that were the case, that would make sort of the collection a little less special, because now you don't have any other knives in your collection to explain why your collection is as special as it is. I mean, I've got a mixture of one-offs, and I believe I've got 12 one-offs in my 20 custom collection. I've got 12 of those one-offs, and the other ones in the collection are not one-offs. So I've got a compare kind of contrast thing going with my custom knives. You may want to do that with your collection, but for the most part, I have to admit, I do try and go for a one-of-a-kind. I mean, it just adds more specialty to the piece when you go into this type of collecting. It just makes it much more special that way. So again, custom knives are considering one-offs. They can be tricky at times, specifically if you're going to have the knife made for you. Otherwise, there are lots of, otherwise the other way that you could get a one-off, because keep in mind, knife makers are making knives all the time. You don't have to, you don't have to like wait for one of a kind to come around. Knife makers are just doing that randomly. You know what I mean? And that's another thing about one-offs, as you begin to wonder what mood was the maker in when he actually put that knife together. Was he in a particular mood? Was he in a happy mood, an angry mood, or what? You don't know. That will add, not to the knife, but that will add to the way the knife looks or whatever. Keep in mind, the people that do this work, they are artists. So you have to consider everything at the time that they're actually doing this. But that doesn't make the one-off any less special. Like I said, custom knife makers are making one-of-a-kinds all the time. It depends on when they are inspired to make knives. And now, obviously, during those times when, maybe they're not making as much money at it, the knife maker may just make, another 12 or 13 or 14 of these handmade knives that are not one-of-a-kind, just to get, I don't want to say get some cash, but maybe get get some money going, so that maybe he could feel inspired again. Who knows? But these are every bit as worth to get as, say, something like this, which is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. So there's no real difference between a one-of-a-kind handmade piece as far as quality goes, as far as quality and what materials go on it. The only difference is you're never going to see the variation put quite that way ever again, and that's what makes the knife as special as it is. I hope this has been quite interesting for you. I try and do something different, or at least talk about an experience that I've had. Every time I do a video, I'm doing it on an experience that I've had with these knives. So, you know, it's just how I do it, how I do my videos, and because everything I have to do is only from my experience. I don't have, you know, a plethora of knowledge, say like Epic Snuggle Bunny or you know, Dr. Frunky or any of those guys. I'm not there yet. I mean, I hope to get there. Otherwise, I hope I'm just not blabbing on and on and on about, you know, ramblings or whatever it is. So anyway, this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy. Hoping this has been an interesting look into one-of-a-kind handmade knives. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask me any question you'd like about my experience with custom knives. Why do I even collect only one type of custom knife? In this case, it's South African custom knives. If you were to ask me why only South African, it's quite simple. In my opinion, it's the heart of custom knife making, in my opinion. All of South Africa, they are leading the pack in art-driven tools, or custom knives, I guess I should say. They're the ones that are leading the pack. They know how to use materials a certain way. They can pretty much take any type of material, put it on a knife in a way that you may have never even seen before, and make it eye-catching. And other knife makers, especially American knife makers, are going to have to admit that they're inspired by the works that you see on this table. So for now, yeah, I'm really only collecting South African knives. It's what I think is very artful and very elegant-looking knives that I've ever owned. So anyway, yeah, that's my video on one-offs. It's just a general video in general. It's maybe shout out some knowledge to any of you guys that have never purchased custom knives or looking to maybe get into custom knives. This channel is more about being the beginning custom collector. Because these things do cost a ton of money, guys. I mean, no one here is super rich buying these things. I'm certainly not. You know, I just basically pulled the trigger each time to get these knives, and decided that, you know what, I really don't care. I only live once. I'm gonna go nuts. You know, if I want to have these beautiful works of art in my drawer, I'm gonna have them. I've decided that. So there you have it. My quick discussion on custom knives, preferably one-of-a-kind handmade knives, the difference between one-of-a-kind handmade knives and a handmade knife that's not a one-of-a-kind. So you're getting the same quality, you're just not getting something that you'll never see again. So there you go, there you have it. This is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off. Hoping you'll find one of the 5 of these pieces. Well, you're not going to find one of the 5 of these pieces. Hopefully you'll find something similar to these one-of-a-kind handmade pieces in your collection. This is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.